a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas and have wonderful guests and hopefully make people aware of more than what they were before they watched the show. So, and today, as usual, I'm having my regular Saturday with Michelle Marie, my author and writer. And let me read what we're going to talk about today. It's called The Alchemy of Experience. And Michelle and I are both going to share our experiences, and I think you'll find it rather interesting. But anyway, although we all have difficulties and sometimes severe challenges in life, severe challenges, and we go through the shift of the ages to higher consciousness, we are learning how to process the energy of these experiences. We have new perspectives. We know that our experiences give us the raw material of energy to transmute to higher frequencies and greater awareness. We also get activated. Oh boy, do we get activated to receive and use our greater soul powers of perception, actions inspired by higher intelligence, and an inner sense of sovereignty, courage, and strength. In the end, we have turned the lead of the experience into the lead of experience into gold of wisdom, and our soul prospers. So, like I said, Michelle and I have some real life experiences to share, as well as some actions taken to overcome these difficult situations. So some positive results will be revealed as we go through this. So Michelle, I'm sorry I kind of left you hanging there, but welcome.
And thank you. Hello.
I was thinking about, yesterday I had a show and I talked about the experience that I had, and because it's very recent, and I'm still dealing with the emotions and the post-traumatic stress of it. And they got me on a weekend where I can't get to a doctor. I can't. It's hard to find people available. It's just lucky that the people that live next to me, who are very nice neighbors, gave me a ride to Cottonwood to be able to get things out of my car. I probably had at least almost $100 to $200 worth of stuff in my car. And I don't know that it will be feasible for me to get out. I don't know if everybody knows what I'm talking about right now.
They might not, but that's what I was thinking. You might want to, give a brief overview or something.
Yes, or I could show the little video that I have too.
Yes, please.
Do you mind if I do that? Why don't you? Okay, I'll have to look for that because I had to rush here to get the show set up because I was gone all morning trying to get the stuff out of my car while they charge me money every day. But let me get that. I know that people have seen it. Some people may have seen it already, but it's very short. So let me find it. And Michelle.
Do you want me to say something while you're finding it?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so what I would like to interweave here is, how we use these experiences in this time of rising to higher vibrations and higher consciousness and mastering situations, because actually these are opportunities to become masters. And so I'm going to talk about some consciousness technology, and one of them from my book is called The Alchemy of Love, and it comes from this book, Live Love. And I'm just going to read the beginning of the chapter, and then we're going to talk about different things and just interweave it with our experiences and just talk about basically process the energy and our feelings and our experience, and just live processing. So this is chapter 10, and in the beginning it says, when humans understand how love transforms, distorted perceptions are no more. That's actually part of a poem from another book. So I'm just going to read a little bit here, and then you can take it away, Gail.
Yeah, I have the clip we need, but go ahead.
Okay. The transformation of consciousness. Have you ever tried to put a genie back in the bottle? Maybe like putting something large and unwieldy back into its package? Maybe like a tent or sleeping bag into its original bag?
I can never get it back in.
It's sometimes difficult, but that's what it's like for me to attempt to explain the process of transformation, the soul's amalgamation with spirit. The good news is that this amalgamation is what happens naturally as our soul essence expands into the whole of spirit. And these activations are actually bringing up our powers. And so, whether Gail knows it or not, she's more powerful today than she was a few days ago.
I did have some things coming out of my mouth about the way it's supposed to be and the way that what they were doing and stuff like that even surprised me.
Good for you. It all starts with the inner spark. This inner spark, the intelligence of awareness within, is our identity. And we have shifted our identity, actually, but we don't know it at first. We come into these bodies and get conditioned by materialistic values and socialized programming. Our natural sense of essence that we are born with essentially gets stuffed into the bag of body awareness. Our true sense of self diminishes. We buy into limitations. Eben Alexander puts it rather succinctly, quote, we are free, but we are free beings hemmed all around by an environment conspiring to make us feel that we are not free.
Definitely.
Take it away, Gail.
Yeah, really. Let's see how free we really are. Let me just preface this. Some people may have seen that, but for those of you who haven't, I had a traffic stop a day before. I can't believe the place that he tried to stop me at was practically in the roundabout, which was a very dangerous place to even begin to try to stop somebody. And I didn't have, my tags were expired. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the prices of everything have more than doubled and so on and so forth. But I could even say that that's not the real issue. I became an American state national to remove myself from the jurisdiction of these corporate pirates. And so I didn't really make an effort to do that, because we are supposed to have the right to travel. You're not supposed to need to register your car, which turns it over to the state. You're not supposed to have a driver's license, which just is a way to tap into your trust account for any variety of things. And I'd like all people to know that when you are fined by a judge, he gets 40% of it. I don't know exactly what the prosecutor gets at this point, but I know that they're bribed a lot. But anyway, that's the way the departments make money, because all of these departments are businesses for profit. So how do you serve the people first and profit as well? You don't. And so what happens is, the other thing that I'd like to mention, it seems that in the field of law enforcement, we have quite a few narcissistic psychopaths. And that's a very dangerous people to have doing what they do, and them having weapons.
And working together like the good old boys network.
Exactly. And backing each other up when they do wrong things and they mistreat people. Yeah. So anyway, to make a long story short, I want to show you a little video. I just got a small clip of it. My son was with me at the time. And fortunately, I told him, turn your camera on. you know, and I will mention that I did scream once or twice, but I was really hoping that someone else would stop and maybe put them on camera. That's what we need to do to these guys that are acting like this. It's not right. Nobody deserves to be treated like this. So I don't know how to make this really big, but I'll try. So watch this. Now, when it first happens, I'm trying to explain that I'm an American state national and I'm not under their jurisdiction. But anyway.
Is there any drugs or weapons in the car, man?
I took cannabis.
Okay, that's fine. That's not illegal. It's illegal to be high and drive. We don't think that's what's going on, but you can have the cannabis.
No, it's not what's going on, and I've got proof of that right here.
Step out of the vehicle. We'll talk about it right
Why?
here. Say hi to officer.
Why does she have to go? Why can't she stay in the car?
Step out of the vehicle, see?
You're under arrest. Stay there. Stay there.
Just to take my phone. Give me my phone.
Give her her phone, motherfucker! Fucking pig ass motherfuckers!
Well, sorry about the swearing, but the situation kind of warranted it. That was extremely abusive, totally unnecessary. And he did say something about a warrant. There was 7 years ago, approximately, there was an exact same incident. I was driving an RV, which I was living in. It was my home. I was driving it 9 miles to another location because I had to leave the location I was in, and I was stopped. They took my house away from me because that's what it was, and they towed it over 100 miles away. I had to sign the title over to the tow company because I couldn't pay it. And then that was like $45, $50 a day. Now they have my car in the exact same situation. I have no way. I live in a town where you really have to have a car for the most part. And it's going to cost me over $1,000 to even get the car out. While they're making money and they're punishing me in a way that they really don't have a right to do it. Now, I know you think, oh, you should do this or that. But if you understand the true nature of what's going on here in the corporate nature of our government that needs to be removed, it's supposed to be already removed, but they're going to continue to operate business as usual until we stand up to them. And that is challenging.
Very, I have to say from experience, that's very challenging. I didn't know then when I went through my experience what I know now. And I'm an American national, state national, whichever way you want to phrase it right now, but I was not then. But I still had a sovereign soul spirit. And they tried to railroad me into saying I was guilty of something that I was not. And I was also physically abused. Also, I was handcuffed behind my back and dragged, and I had fray marks on my boots, and I had injuries to my wrists. And
I have injuries to my wrists too, and I put in some pain patches on them. I'm sorry, keep going.
No, that's okay. Yeah, this is a discussion. So I went to the hospital after I spent time in jail for no reason at all, but overnight basically. And then I went to the hospital, and they x-rayed my wrists, and they put half a cast on one and wrapped up the other one with an ace bandage. And I had a swollen finger, and they had to cut one of my rings off. And, but I really wasn't even in a vehicle. I was walking down the street with my camera on, and a police officer came and grabbed the camera right out of my hand. And I have that videotape, actually, the video from the camera, him grabbing it. And I was just walking by a main street in Colorado and taking pictures with my phone, videos and pictures. And there was somebody off to my left giving a traffic ticket or something. But another totally different officer swung around, and he's the one that came up to me and took my camera away. put me in handcuffs, rifled through my purse. It was shocking. It was really quite shocking. For one, I hadn't done anything wrong, and for another, nothing had ever happened to me like that before. But I can tell you, when you having these experiences, part of the alchemy is to look back in retrospect and look for the purpose. And for me, I did not realize the corruption, how the good old boys networks worked. I didn't realize that they were having for-profit prisons. I didn't realize that they were jailing and trapping and tricking innocent people. And I didn't know the list of corporations that were using prison labor. And now I'm aware of those lists, and I don't purchase anything from those companies. I became very much aware, and I think I look at things from a soul perspective, and my soul wanted me to have this information about the corruption and about what's going on in the prison system and in the corrupt legal system, and about how good old boys networks worked. But I was traumatized for at least 18 months. Like, really,
It's extremely traumatizing, especially if you've been through it more than once. And I have been through it more than once. I had almost the exact same thing happen in Nevada. I did, however, because of a lot of paperwork that I filed to remove myself from the corporate structure or construct of this system. But you still have to fight about it, because they will continue their abuse, their use. See, when you have a narcissist with qualified immunity, that's really dangerous.
well,
That's why people who have not registered their car, if they happen to run from the cop at that point, why would you shoot him in the back? I don't care if you think that he was some kind of criminal or something like that. You can get him later. You don't have to kill somebody for that. That's just wrong.
well, it's a abuse of power.
I can't even relate to it.
We have gone through cycles and cycles of abuse of power, and I think in human history right now, we are here to break cycles, abuse of power cycles, abuse cycles. As souls, we took on these missions to come in and break cycles, and we basically did sign up for some of these challenging experiences so that we could overcome them and stop them from happening. And as we get activated and incorporate our higher intelligence and higher vibration, we're bringing all of this stuff to light. And that's step number one in, stopping these people from abusing power and taking them out of power, because this is in the divine plan. This is the changing of the guard. And the first thing we need to do is become aware and raise awareness, and then use that awareness on a grand scale as the collective. The collective right now is, we're having a great awakening, and there is abuse of power and corruption. And then each of us, many of us as individuals, we have our own flavor of going through these abuse of power situations. And we are learning many things. I didn't know, like I said, about common law and how to extract myself from the system and how to get away from the corporations. And I went through a lot. And I know that as a soul, I chose some experiences that I wouldn't consciously choose, because they're very difficult. And what I have observed and what I have learned, a lot of us are putting all these pieces together. It's not just research. We've done that too, but also our own experiences. Our own experiences bring about firsthand information, firsthand observation. It's not hearsay. We were there. We know it. We felt it. We can report on it.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have to tell you about one other experience that I had. One that was very similar to this one, but there was another one over a decade ago where they decided someone was in the house that, as far as I'm concerned, was set up. And anyway, they busted into the house at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they threw percussion bombs or whatever they were. I mean, it's like the cops think this kind of thing is fun, you know, and came into the bedroom with guns drawn, lights in your face. Get up, you're under arrest. And I'm going, holy, I mean, I was shocked. But anyway, the worst part of it is they had the audacity to march me, to handcuff me with those, you know, zip tie things out in the street, buck naked with only underwear on. Do you know, I called just about every attorney in the state to try to get somebody to sue them over that. Do you think I could get anybody? No. Attorneys are part of the problem.
I found that out too. I ended up hiring and then firing an attorney. I had to go pro se to manage this at all.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it's like you're all overburdened with trying to make a living and keeping your career going or whatever you're doing to survive in this 3D environment. And then you have people like this who profit themselves over what they're doing. They profit with cops. They have to meet a quota. Okay. And
that's what I learned too.
Oh yeah.
They have to put so many people in jail because they need to fill them up, because that's the slavery labor, you know, system.
And that's how they make their money. And they get $6,000 a day from the feds.
Yeah. For-profit prisons are part of the, you know, corporate money laundering, money grabbing, you know, corrupt. It's not a system of justice. It's a system of what? Just us?
Exactly. The justice is a joke. The judges are not judges. They're administrators of the corporate debt. And they have been for years. And that's how they manage to get their cut, and others do as well. I know that this might sound shocking to you, but I've done a lot of research. And in that process, these are the kinds of things you find out when you get acting so badly mistreated. And that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And that is I couldn't take it anymore. That's what I got to that point. That's why I became an American state national. Now I am supposed to have the Arizona Assembly get behind me on this, and I will report back on that. And if it's true, I'm that's why I became a member, to remove myself from the jurisdiction of these corporate cronies. So,
yeah. Well, there's also spiritual activities and spiritual warfare and spiritual tools that we can use to overcome, because sometimes it feels like Davy and Goliath situation, like they have all the power and we don't, but that's not true. And the activation, that's part of the activation, is to use soul powers instead of the regular 3D types of strategies that we used to use. Now we have new strategies. So when I was fit to be tied, I know that my local egoic, personal, separate self-intelligence did not have the answers to overcome, and nor did I really understand everything that was going on. And so I took these situations into deep prayer and meditation. And when I felt like my lawyer was not serving me, I was getting an inkling of that. And I looked up, you know, the rules of, not the rules of law, rules of engagement. And I told him some things, and he said, don't look that up. That's my job. And he was, you know, a little bit belligerent and not really acting like he was on my side. And some of the things he was doing and saying seemed sketch. And yet I was relying on him. And so I prayed about it, and I got this exact wording to use. And so I got this guidance, and they said, inject this into the conversation. And at this point, when I was conversing with him, a court date was coming up, and I needed a continuance, and he was the only one that could do it at that time. So, he was sort of trying to be dominant in everything, okay? And so in my divine guidance, which was loud and clear, I was told to say, well, in this specific situation, to ask him, what would you do? And that totally shifted his energy, and he got me the continuance, which is what I needed in that moment. And that was purely and directly from divine guidance. I had exact words, and then I kept praying and turning it over because they were threatening to issue a warrant for my arrest. They wanted me to show up in person. Well, I had been physically abused by these people. My lawyer wasn't really sticking up for me the way he should have. He was basically friends and going to lunch with the prosecutor, and also
They're all buddies. Yeah,
they were buddies, and they worked out of the same building. And when I learned all that, well,
they trade people off. They trade you. I mean, you would be shocked. Anyway,
I kept praying about it, and just, really, I was at a loss. Me personally, I just wasn't. That was not my forte, my realm. And then, so the day before I was supposed to go to court, and I was out of state, and I had read in the rules of engagement that you could attend by webinar, and they tried to tell me that wasn't true. Well, anyway, so I ran into someone at a coffee shop. I told him my situation. He was like a brilliant genius. He was just not even a close friend, but I was associated with him by running into him in our little small town a lot and talking to him. He said, I'll write a brief for you. He wrote a brief, the most brilliant brief, using case law and everything else. And he demanded that my lawyer get fired. He demanded that they pay me. He brought up case law. And I said that this brief, the next morning, I faxed that brief, and I said, this is my appearance brief. So basically, I was appearing through the brief, and I said I would be there on the phone and with this appearance brief. Incidentally, I also sent some of the evidence that I gathered using date and timestamps from my phone and the police dash cam, disproving their claims that I showed pictures to the police officer that was giving the ticket. That was an outright outrageous lie that they corroborated.
They do that a lot. People don't realize
my First and Fourth Amendment rights, and they had no standing, no ground, no cause for stopping me, and so they had to make something up. Well, I sent the evidence, the brief, and said, I'll be there by phone, and they accepted that. And then they read the brief, and then they excused my attorney, who wasn't expecting it. And he said, well, I was going to, and the judge said, no, you can leave the courtroom now. You've been dismissed. And he had to leave the courtroom while I was on the phone. And then I was able to cross-examine the two lying police officers. And when they asked me if I wanted to examine them, I said, well, I've already read their affidavit, and they lied in that. So I don't really see, much benefit of asking people who lie questions.
Exactly.
So I will decline that offer. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. You have the evidence there that I sent, and there it was, and I do spreadsheets and computer work, and I had all these date and time stamps and a timeline and a video. I mean, and I got even extra help from another techie, brilliant techie. It was irrefutable, absolutely irrefutable, my innocence. And so it went by the wayside. It ended it for that time period. They still did charge me a small amount of money and for a misdemeanor, which was wrong.
That was the money.
But I went back with a second round from a different attorney and had everything laid out. And a lawsuit for a 1983 USC 1983 civil rights course, civil rights lawsuit was written up, and that's on the table even to this day. We tried to negotiate out of court, and they didn't go for it at that time. And I decided to give it time for me to recover from the PTSD and to be thankful that it was over. And so at any time I could pick that up and go forward. That's where mine is at. Yeah. For that part of it, but what I learned as a soul was that even though they tried to railroad me and they did a lot of different strategies to take a plea deal, I would not. I stood my ground. I even went in to pay for a jury trial, which they declined a jury trial. And a friend of mine wrote an order to a motion for them to show what grounds they had to not give me a jury trial. And they actually wrote back saying, we were mistaken. You can have a jury trial. They weren't used to people standing up to them.
No, and they will lie to you first out the gate. And if you believe them, then, because they will lie about.
They try to railroad people.
Do. Yeah.
And so even
the judge called me
to his chamber by myself. The judge called me into his chambers by myself when I'd stopped by the court to drop off some papers. That's illegal. He sat me down. He goes, how can we get rid of this? I thought we're done with this. How can we get rid of this? He was trying to get rid of me. He said, how about if you plea no contest? And I said, well, isn't that—
I'm not pleading anything. Yeah.
I said, isn't that an admission of guilt? And he goes, well, yeah, in a way or something. I said, no, I am not guilty of anything. I'm not going to do that. So, but they tried every which way but loose. And I stood my ground, and I felt like a light warrior, actually. And I felt like a David and Goliath situation, actually. But I felt that power of the Christ light within me. I felt that. I felt like I was sovereign. I felt like I'm not taking this crap, and I did not. And I did everything I could, including turning it over to God and getting divine intervention and divine help. So I definitely got divine intervention. I definitely got divine help. And everything is energy, and everything will find its balance in the end. If you've been abused, if energy was stolen from you, if you were harmed, all of that has to come back into balance. It does. And I also do practice, all of the spiritual values that Yeshua taught, and I have sent them forgiveness and love and everything. But I can send forgiveness and love and everything, and there still can be accountability. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. I think the big thing is people don't realize what's going on in these situations. It's fortunate that you had, part of the divine intervention was working on the hearts of the people that helped you.
Right, exactly.
Because you had people there to help you. You have to have people behind you. You have to have people that are backing you up in some capacity, because they will annihilate you if you're by yourself, because they can as much as, they possibly can.
Well, when you pray, God sends you those people. Like that, the one guy that helped me and wrote a brief, I hardly ever saw him in my life. I could probably count on, one hand, two maybe at the most, because I never really did count how many times I've seen him in my life. He seemed like a real nice guy, and we've had some nice conversations. But, for him to write a brief like that was a godsend. That was a godsend. That's nothing that I could have ever thought of or expected. When you surrender things to God, that's when the miracles and the people show up, and you don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, I have to say we had some divine intervention too, because the officer was very unkind and left me. I managed to leave in peace. Okay. And then I had to walk home. It was over 100-degree heat. We're talking at least 5 miles. He gave me a little ride part of the way. These are, peace officers. Really? Are you kidding me? That's how they treat the. Anyway, wow, a partial ride in 100-degree heat, and said, well, I hope there's probably some water over there you might be able to get, or what have you. So anyway, I go, yeah, right. So I got out and I started walking, and I was walking, and you'd be amazed how many people will just pass you by, even though you're hitchhiking and you're a single woman and you're all by yourself. Many people will just go right on by. So then I prayed in for help. And it wasn't but a few minutes later that somebody actually pulled over. So yeah, prayer makes a difference. It really does. And so yeah, we are very peaceful people and very spiritual people, and that's why we're attacked. That's a big part of it.
Yeah. And then we overcome with the light. And even, the light work that we do does have an effect, not just on, the situation, but also, like in general, because we're all affecting the collective consciousness. So standing up, it really helps. So if you don't mind, I'll inject a few excerpts from this book that I have that, let's see, what was the next one I was going to do? 183, 190. Okay. Nope. Yep. 190. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to read a real small thing.
Okay,
Another, so we're transforming energy as we process these experiences. And so a method that I have put in this book is called transmute, transcend, and transform. So, we have emotional energy, we have anger, hurt, we have feelings that we have to process. And so the first step that we do is we transmute the energy by being with it and being honest with our feelings and not trying to bury it or kill it or deny it or anything like that. So we look straight at the energy and we feel it fully, and it dissipates. We're with the energy, kind of like sitting with a best friend who's processing. We sit with the energy and we let the feeling go through our heart and our body. And then so after transmuting it, we transcend it, the second step. And then we rise above the details of the problem and look at the big picture. We sort of look at all angles. We ask God, what is the purpose for this experience? What am I supposed to learn? What are the blessings that are going to come from it? So we gain awareness. We get answers in terms of its purpose. We also will end up getting blessings, which that's part of the soul activation. I know that I can say right now in retrospect, because mine is way in the past now. And in retrospect, I can say I'm very grateful for the education that I received about the law enforcement and the prison system and stuff like that, because I'm an activist. I take action and I spread awareness about things when I learn about that.
Right.
So, there's always a higher purpose for it, and there are blessings that come out of it.
Well, you can't help when something like that happens to you and it's a grave injustice. You can't help but start reaching and thinking to yourself, this can't be right. They can't be doing this. How do they get away with it? Stuff like that. And it's like, whoa, they're not even supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
We have let things get. We have let.
Sorry. I just wanted to finish the process. It was a 3-step thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, no, that's okay. So I was in step 2. So the first one was transmute. The second one is transcend. The third one is transform. So at the end of the transcending thing, you're looking at it as an observer. So just imagine that everything that happens in your life, it's like it's a scene in a play. So you take yourself out of the part of being in it, you transcend it, and you're looking at it like an observer, and you're saying, oh, that's interesting. And you're just like, you're not emotionally involved when you're the observer. You're just looking at the scene, basically. And then the third step is to transform the energy. And you love the energy. You love it for its purpose and its wisdom. You love the clarity around the message that has surfaced, or many messages. And then you thank for the energy for the information and its purpose that has been fulfilled. Even if you don't know what the purpose is yet, thank it for its purpose, and that will be revealed in the end. And then also, like I said, I noticed before, we get activated. What the activation feels like is that we like receive more light in our light body. We are actually building light bodies as we stand for the truth and research the truth and speak the truth and become aware of the truth. We're building our light body. And so we can use this energy. Since energy cannot be created or destroyed, it only changes form. We can say, thank you for your purpose. Now here's a new purpose. In other words, throw out an image, and I'll give you an image. This actually just came to me this week because I get these ideas when I'm meditating. And it was just, this image is called move the decimal. So if you want to take your bank account and move the decimal and keep moving it over. So let's say you have $10 and you move the decimal over, then you have 100, then you move the decimal over, and then you have 1,000, and then you move the decimal over and you have 10,000. Just do it with your mind and do that a few times and pretend you're looking at your bank statement and move the decimal, and just say, this is your new purpose now. Move the decimal, create larger sums of, financial resources. And I intend to see it, and I will see it in the bank account. So that's a strategy to use. And, when you've processed enough to, settle down and be at peace and be calm, practice the different perspectives and, watch the miracles.
Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing that. It's very true. I'm going to, maybe we should mention this about CPS.
Yes.
I was listening to some of it straight. They actually have CPS in the basement of many of the children's hospitals. And as soon as a child is even born, it's recorded with CPS. I don't know all the details of that, but it's very nefarious, and it's very, that's how they can come up and sweep your child away, and you don't have anything to say about it.
Yes. And as far as the core system, so when I learned that there was a quota and that they were just really going against the law, I found out that they were also doing it to juveniles, not just adults.
Oh, yeah, I know. They did it to my, I have a son.
And there was these trumped up, charges or whatever, and they put them in, and they don't give them a trial, and they don't get unless parents are really on top of things. So this one guy was really on top of things, and he got his son out, and the judge that put him in, they caught him doing this for all these different kids, and the judge got caught doing this, and the judge went to jail. So they had.
We need more judges going to jail, because there are a lot of them that are as corrupt as all get out.
Judges are going to jail. Corrupt policemen are going to jail. Now,
Yes,
I personally don't ascribe to defund the police. I say fire them and jail them, the ones that are bad. Put the good ones back in, because I know I had a friend who had a boyfriend who was a police officer. He was a good-hearted, good man, good person. He did a good job, and they got him out when they were putting the corrupt ones in.
I heard that. Yeah, the good guys get bounced out somehow, or ganged up again by the bad ones.
So all of our institutions have been infiltrated by the bad, corrupt people. I watched it happen in education, and I knew as a soul I was put in this position to see how the infiltration, and I just called it takeover energy at the time, God put me in this position so I could watch them work and do their infiltration and try their MK mind control on the teachers and the students. And I have a wealth of information on the strategies that they use, because they definitely, I was in that system where they tried to use it on me.
Yeah. And this is a problem. And this is why I said this before. When you have a narcissist and a psychopath as a officer, and they have qualified immunity, they have no conscience. They don't have to.
No, that's why they think they can just assault people on the street and beat them up and, you know, lie about them even.
And here's the thing too, they shout some order at you like they have some big authority over you, and you better jump. And if you don't jump right away, you're in trouble. They will start to physically abuse you.
Well, that's what happened to me, actually, because they told me, go on down the street. And I started to turn around to say, but my boyfriend's back there. And as soon as I start speaking, they put my hands behind my back and handcuffed me. And here they are, these huge, strong guys. And I'm, you know, strong, but not that strong.
Yeah, but if you fight, if you try to fight them, what can you do? You
well,
know,
size-wise,
yeah.
strength-wise, there's no match whatsoever. And it was really shocking, it was really devastating. And I can hardly believe that they treat people like that. And they did the same thing. And I found out that there was, in that community, there had already been meetings a few years prior about police brutality. And then later, a few months later, I found out they had an 80-year-old woman down on the ground, face down in handcuffs, because she hadn't paid her registration. I mean, does that even make sense? She didn't hurt anybody, and they're hurting an 80-year-old woman?
No victim, no crime. I'm no spring chicken either. You know, if I wasn't in halfway as decent a condition as I am, they could have pulled my arm right out of the socket. They could have broke a bone.
Well, I did get retested for a hairline fracture, actually.
Yes, I have every intention. It's just that I don't have a car to be able to get to the doctor. There's no transportation or bus service here. And even if you do a home visit, they can't really do the same thing that they can in an office. Not that I absolutely despise going to a doctor in the first place, but I definitely need a chiropractor and a doctor. And as soon as I can get there, I will. And a lot of times on injuries like that, it hurts more after a few days, because one time
right.
I've had that happen to me before. But
I do want to just inject this one thing. I went to the hospital after I had gone there, and, you know, I was in that kind of shape, and they had to cut off my ring because my hand was so swollen. And they could have done that actually at the police department, but they did not. And I believe the hospital was in cahoots with the police, and they didn't write in their report. I have a video of them cutting off the ring, but it was not in the medical report.
See, this is why people need to stand up for other. They see something happening on the street. If you have a camera, or if you have your phone with you, it would really be a good Samaritan to get out and tape them, because those body cams don't show everything that they're supposed to. Not to mention the fact they can edit that.
Well, not only that, but listen, they were supposed to have 2 dash cams, one for each vehicle. The one that could have, if the lie was not a lie, prove that it was real, that one happened to not be on or be broken or something. They didn't have the police dash cam on or working, where the one was pointed to where, you know, where the lie would have happened. That one happened to not work. They didn't happen to have that one.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, that's how it goes. I was gonna say something funny. You know how we talk about charges, because when the cop will sit there and try to think of every possible charge you can possibly imagine. So talk about trumped up charges. And isn't it hilarious when you think about it? Look at the trumped up charges they have on Trump.
I think of that every time. Yes.
How Trumpy. I have a little short video from a Marine that I think we could show, but I'm going to have to turn off the YouTube channels. So if you're on YouTube, I would like you to go to Rumble or Odyssey. And I'm always, all my platforms are under Gail of Gaia in some capacity, all one word. So, and it's always in the description of my videos. What you can say?
Oh, that's what I was wondering, if that was accessible. So it's in the description. You don't need to put it in the chat. Thanks.
I'd have to hunt it down to put it in the, let me see if I can get it. Hang on one second. I'll see if I can put it in the chat. Oh boy.
Yeah. And then when you're done showing that, we can address some of these comments. There's some good comments.
Okay. Let me get that. See if I can find that. Rumble. Here it is. God dang it. Okay, and here we go. Here it is in the, so now I'm going to shut off my YouTube channels because YouTube will censor this and take my channels down. In America, where we're supposed to have freedom of speech, and we're supposed to have, I had a number of Bill of Rights violations by those cops, and people, we just have lost sight of our rights, and we still need to stand our ground about
We
it.
can talk about that after your video too. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let me shut off the YouTube channels. So please go to Rumble if you're on